Hi, I'm Nick from Global Office. I'm going to be talking to you today about how to prevent budget blowouts in software projects. So what causes budget overruns? Well, in my experience, these 5 things. Underestimating and over-promising, miscommunication of key features that are required, scope creep, miscommunication during the discovery phase of the project, and lastly, underestimating effort relating to non-programming tasks like project management and that sort of thing. Above all, the key to ensuring a software development project is delivered on time and in budget is recognizing that the cost isn't just development cost alone. There's other costs supporting the project that need to be considered. I've seen a number of software projects go over budget because adequate time hasn't been allowed for non-development tasks. So things like project management to make sure that the project is going the right way, and testing time. Testing is very important. Obviously, it makes sure that the application is doing what it needs to do. And when those things aren't considered, all of a sudden you can get an invoice at the end of the month for all this time that you hadn't really anticipated, and that's when a budget can blow out. So understanding the impact of a change on the overall project is quite important. Sometimes a change that can seem quite small actually has a flow-on effect to other areas of the application. So on the surface it looks like it might be quite simple, but unless that change is thought through, all these other moving parts that are dependent on this minor little change can be impacted. And what's important is to make sure that the communication between both parties, so you and the development team, is communicated effectively. So you need to make sure that you communicate what that change is to the development team and that they understand it. And it's important for them to communicate back to you what the impact of that change is to both time and cost. So part of developing a software project is doing a requirements gathering phase or a scoping phase up front. That really allows you to understand what's required when building the software. And so it's important that you choose a development team that know the right questions to ask. And often there can be nuances between clients that work in the same industry. And so you can't just take for granted that something that a development team has done in one industry or for one client in one industry works for you in the same industry, because you might do things or approach things slightly different. So choosing a development team that can discover this information by asking the right questions really ensures that the budget for your project is sound. So I've worked with clients before that have a big scope for a project, but their budget really doesn't extend to it. And they say, hey, well, what can we do? We want something. And so one thing that you can do is take an agile approach to how you build a software project. So I guess the methodology behind that is to define the things that are really important for a software project, and the development team works on those things in priority in batches of work called sprints, with the aim that when a sprint is finished, you get a working feature that can be used. So your budget slowly tackles each of the important things until your budget runs out, and the outcome should be that you've got all of the important stuff that you need and within your budget, and sure, there might be some remaining stuff left over, but that's usually the least important items that you want in a software project. So in our industry there are no stupid questions. Sometimes people can take for granted stuff that they do in their business because they do it all the time. So it's important to communicate all of that stuff that you might not think is relevant, as well as asking all sorts of questions just in case. The more information you have, the better you're going to be able to define that original budget, which is where your budget blowouts will happen. So to take away, to make sure that you're managing a project on budget, you need to be realistic about your budget expectations. If there's an unrealistic budget set at the start, then you're only going to end up with a big bad budget blowout at the end of the day. For more information, head over to our website, globaloffice.co.nz.